Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go over Lakka, and more specifically, how to get GameCube games running on your Nintendo Switch. Now, to go over a couple things first, this video is going to be broken up into two parts. First part will be gameplay footage and performance. The second part will be installation and some recommended settings to get optimal performance. If you want to go ahead and skip to the setup part, you can go ahead and hit the timestamp up here and check that out. Now, there's a couple things I want to note about running Lakka on your Nintendo Switch. First, the prerequisites. You're going to need an unpatched Switch. That means the older Arista model that you can enter RCM mode. If you have a Mariko revision or any Switch revision with a mod chip, even an OLED with a mod chip, this isn't going to work. And the main reason for that is Lakka uses the Linux kernel, which hasn't been ported over to any Switch that runs a mod chip. It only works on the older models. Second thing, you're going to need an SD card and access to a computer. From there, you're going to have to download the Hekate files, as well as some Lakka files, and some ROMs of your choice. I'll have links to everything that you need down below, except for the ROMs, but I'm sure a quick Google search will find you whatever you need. So, what can Lakka do? The main reason to install Lakka is to run GameCube games. You can run other emulators such as Dreamcast, Super Nintendo, Genesis, but there's really no benefit to running it in Lakka as opposed to on the actual Nintendo Switch OS itself with RetroArch. In fact, I find things like that tend to work better on RetroArch on the Nintendo Switch as opposed to Lakka, mostly because of how controllers are configured, and Lakka can be a little bit finicky with that. Also, you can use wired or wireless controllers. You can run HD texture packs for Lakka GameCube games, Nintendo 64 games, as well as PlayStation games, as well as up-resing can be done. With all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and let the gameplay roll. If you want to go ahead and skip to the tutorial, you can go to this timestamp here.
Stay alert. He'll be through here. I know it. I'm going to swat down a couple of bothersome flies.
Alright, so this is how you get Lakka on the Nintendo Switch. Just a couple easy steps. First, go to the website here. I'll have links to everything down below in the description. Download Lakka for Nintendo Switch. And we just want to save that. I have a GameCube folder. I'll throw it in there. Alright, now that you have Lakka downloaded, let's go ahead, click over Show in Folder. We want to go ahead to extract the 7-zip, however you do that. Okay, and go ahead and open that up. Now I have my pretend Switch SD card. Go ahead, grab these two folders, copy them over to your SD card. The good thing about Lakka is you don't need to create a special partition for it like you do with Linux or Android when you install that on the Nintendo Switch. It's just basically drag and drop. So we are basically done right here with the installation, but there's a couple more things I want to go over. So Lakka, open up the folder for it, Storage. What you want to do, go ahead and create a new folder here called ROMs and put all of your ROMs into here. I made a mistake the first time around I installed this. I didn't move my ROMs over to here, and I wasn't able to access them when I booted into Lakka. I had to go back out, take the SD card, put it in the computer, and move them over to here, because you cannot access the whole SD card when you're inside Lakka. You can only access what's inside this storage folder. So now that we're done this, let's go ahead, pop the SD card back on our Nintendo Switch, and I'll show you what to do from there. Alright, now that we're back on the Nintendo Switch, all you have to do, tap on More Configs, Lakka, Touch. And it's going to go ahead and boot up. We'll just give this a moment. And there we go. We are in Lakka. Before we go any further on the Switch, I wanted to jump in here and just go over a couple of quick settings. So currently I have my Switch docked again, just so I can record this part. On CPU overclock, when you're plugged into AC power or docked, well, docked is AC power, but you can also run handheld directly plugged into AC, you are able to do this max overdrive overclock. As well, GPU overclock, you can max boost it. This is only if you are plugged into AC power. The Switch's battery cannot hold this kind of overclock unless you're plugged into power. There might be overrides to make it work, but you're running at dangerous levels at that point. Like it's unsafe too. The safest you can run, well, in handheld mode on battery, GPU 460 and CPU 1785. So that's if you're in handheld mode. But I'm currently docked. I'm going to go ahead, back out, and I want maximum performance. The way I usually run GameCube when I'm running Lakka on Switch, I will sit on the sofa and I'll plug it into AC power. So there is one more thing that you really, really have to do to make this work. Go over here to Settings, Video, Output, Video, Vulkan, Vulkan. You want to set this to Vulkan. Anything else and your GameCube games will either not run or they will chug along. So we'll do that. And after you have that done, you are going to want to reboot into Hekate, and then you're going to want to boot back into Lakka just to make sure everything saves and refreshes. If you don't do that, your performance isn't going to be acceptable. And one more thing I want to go over here. I currently have texture packs installed on my Dolphin emulator. So I'm going to go ahead, open up Wind Waker. My Wind Waker is a patched ROM to give widescreen support, but it's not patched for HD. But there are HD files that I put on the SD card. And the reason I didn't include that in the initial tutorial is because I don't recommend using them. The Switch just cannot handle it. If you want to run GameCube, that's fine. You're going to get bare minimum performance. It's still going to be stuttery. But if you're doing HD texture packs, it's just not going to be a good time. If people comment down below and they want to request that, I will do an update and add that in. So, back to the menu. And in Lakka, the way you go back to the menu, you have to push in on both analog sticks. Now, the reason I go back to this menu here is Options, and one thing for GameCube that's pretty safe to do, you can up-res. So here's the default resolution. I do ×2. I didn't change any other settings here except for widescreen. Widescreen hack you do not need for this ROM specifically because GameCube Wind Waker, I already have it patched for widescreen. For some other games like Twilight Princess, you need to do this, but again, it's not recommended for this. Like, the Switch just can't handle it. It can barely run this as is. Load custom texture packs. So if you want to turn this off and on, just toggle this here, but keep in mind that each time you change the toggle, you're going to have to reboot Lakka. So let's go back to Hekate and then load back Lakka again. Or else the changes just don't take effect. So I hope that helped you out if you're looking to run GameCube games on your Nintendo Switch. I've tried out basically every method there is. I've had a Ubuntu install on my Nintendo Switch, Ubuntu, tomato, an Android install, and running Dolphin on both of those. I fiddled with tons and tons of settings, countless hours spent on all this, and by far Lakka is the best way that I've found to get GameCube running. Well, not only the best way, but also it runs the fastest on this, and it lets you overclock higher than any of the other two alternatives. Alright, thumbs up if you like the video, subs if you want to hear more of my stupid voice.